Hello, this is Michael Loyd. I wanted to continue reading this book. I know I started from the end. Logotherapy. This is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This is chapter 1, section 1, Experiences in a Concentration Camp. This is on page 3. This book does not claim to be an account of facts and events, but of personal experiences which millions of prisoners have suffered time and time again. It is the inside story of a concentration camp, told by one of its survivors. This tale is not concerned with the great horrors which have already been described often enough, though less often believed, but with the multitude of small torments. In other words, it will try to answer this question: how was everyday life in a concentration camp reflected in the mind of the average prisoner? Most of the events described here did not take place in the large and famous camps, but in the small ones where most of the real extermination took place. This story is not about suffering and death of great heroes and martyrs, nor is it about the prominent capos, prisoners who acted as trustees, having special privileges, or well-known prisoners. Thus, it is not much concerned with the sufferings of the mighty, but with the sacrifices, the crucifixion, and the death of the great army of unknown, unrecorded victims. It was these common prisoners, who bore no distinguishing marks on their sleeves, whom the capos really despised. While these ordinary prisoners had little or nothing to eat, the capos were never hungry. In fact, many of the capos fared better in the camp than they had in their entire lives. Often they were harder on the prisoners than were the guards. They beat them more cruelly than the SS men did. These capos, of course, were chosen only from those prisoners whose characters promised to make them suitable for such procedures, and if they did not comply with what was expected of them, they were immediately demoted. They soon became much like the SS men and the camp wardens, and may be judged on a similar psychological basis. It is easy for the outsider to get the wrong conception of camp life. Conception mingled with sentiment and pity. Little does he know of the hard fight for existence which raged among the prisoners. This was an unrelenting struggle for daily bread and for life itself, for one's own sake or for that of a good friend. Let us take the case of transport, which was officially announced to transfer a certain number of prisoners to another camp. But it was a fairly safe guess that its final destination would be the gas chambers. A selection of sick or feeble prisoners incapable of work would be sent to one of the big central camps which were fitted with gas chambers and crematoriums. The selection process was the signal for a free fight among all the prisoners, or of group against group. All that mattered was that one's own name and that one's own friend were crossed off the list of victims, though everyone knew that for each man saved, another victim had to be found. A definite number of prisoners had to go with each transport. It really did not matter which, since each of them was nothing but a number. On their admission to camp, at least this was the method in Auschwitz, all their documents had been taken from them, together with their possessions. Each prisoner, therefore, had an opportunity to claim a fictitious name or profession, and for various reasons many did this. The authorities were interested only in the captives' numbers. These numbers were often tattooed on their skin, and also had to be sewn to a certain spot on trousers, jacket, or coat. Any guard who wanted to make a charge against a prisoner just glanced at his number, and how we dreaded such glances. He never asked for his name. To return to the convoy about to depart. There was neither time nor desire to consider moral or ethical issues. Every man was controlled by one thought only, to keep himself alive for the family waiting for him at home, and to save his friends. With no hesitation, therefore, he would arrange for another prisoner, another number, to take his place in the transport. As I have already mentioned, the process of capos was a negative one. Only the most brutal of prisoners were chosen for this job, although there were some happy exceptions. But apart from the selection of capos, which was undertaken by the SS, there was a sort of self-selecting process going on the whole time among the prisoners. On the average, only those prisoners could keep alive who, after years of trekking from camp to camp, had lost all scruples in their fight for existence, and were prepared to use every means, honest and otherwise, even brutal force, theft, and betrayal of friends in order to save themselves. We who have come back, by the aid of many lucky chances or miracles, whatever one may choose to call them, we know the best of us did not return. I don't want to make these videos too long. This is page 6. I'll continue reading the rest of the chapter in the next video. Thank you for your time. Once again, this is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, with a foreword by Harold S. Kushner. More than 15 million copies in print worldwide. This is about his time in a concentration camp.